The CNE is showing off this year's specialties as the X prepares to open later this week. But there are growing questions about its future. That story coming up tonight.
And we're following the latest out of York Region. This is where search efforts, they're still underway for a missing realtor from Markham.
And Auston Matthews officially becomes the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs with John Tavares by his side.
This is Live at 5. Good evening. I'm Bakari Savage.
And I'm Lena Latafat. Thank you for joining us here on Live at 5. We are just days away from the start of a Toronto summer tradition.
Yeah, the X opens this Friday. There's a lot of excitement over what's in store this year. For just a glimpse, we go to CP24, Sija Liu, who's live with more from CNE Media Day. Sija, this is the time to eat everything, play everything, and not have to stand in line.
Right, we are so lucky today. No lines, free food. That is amazing. But you know what? I'm giving you a preview of what you can expect. So today was Media Day, where all the food vendors came out, showed us the specialty dishes they have been working on all year long. I mean, the reason you come to CNE is to try those wacky and weird food combos, delicious foods that you can't get anywhere else. And here to give us a preview is Andrew Moda. He is the owner of Mexican Street Food here. And Andrew, you guys work all year round to come up with some specialty dishes. What do you guys have here this year?
This year we made our signature birria taco, but we made it much more CNE-like by deep frying it in total. So we grab our birria beef, stuff it with cheese in our corn tortilla, and deep fry it to golden brown perfection to make it a CNE-worthy treat.
And there was also a burger that everyone couldn't stop talking about over at Media Day a few hours ago. It had peanut butter and jelly. What's that about?
Yeah, so we threw out the traditional buns that you would get with a burger, and we replaced them with an Uncrustable patty, which is full of peanut butter and strawberry. And in between, we're going to put our 2 smash burgers, cheese, caramelized onions, and our thick-cut bacon. And that gives you the perfect sweet and savory combination.
So take us through the process of what the rest of your year looks like, because everything you do is for these 2 weeks. So what is that planning process like? How do you come up with these ideas?
Yeah, well, right after the CNE, we take a lot of time off for the 18 days. And then back in like the new year, January, February, we started just calling our main guys, coming up with ideas, shooting ideas back and forth. And then coming around, like, let's say May, we get in the test kitchen and really start playing with some stuff.
And you also hire a lot of staff. One of your co-owners was telling me you bring in new people every year. So tell us about the community that it builds with the new people you bring in every year.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. So, I mean, like for a lot of kids in Toronto, this is their first time job. So it's really exciting for them to come in. We've been fortunate. We do hire about 130 kids every year. But we've been fortunate that every year we get about 50 or 60 back, which is fantastic.
I'm sure being able to try some of the food during their shift helps them come back. So you have one of the bowls here with us. So what's this?
This is the deep fried birria bomb we were talking about. It creates an awesome cheese pull. I got some napkins and stuff just because it's going to be hot when I crack it open. So let's do it. Let's see how it goes.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, that's messy.
Right?
It looks so delicious.
That's all the cheese goodness, birria beef. And we got one for you to try. You're not going to try this one that I just mangled? Yeah. So we got the version here. It comes with the consomme, which is great for dipping. And we got the beef cheese ball right there. So if you want to dip it, you can try it. Yeah, give it a go. Go for it. Yeah.
Gotta go right in. Gotta
go right in.
Out of the sauce. Gotta get that seasoning. Okay.
Yeah, good.
Amazing. Wonderful.
Yeah.
So McCarty, great food. Can't say much right now, but amazing. Send it back to you.
CJ, I'm doing this.
Yeah, you're a great sport to do that on camera,
Yeah.
I gotta say.
That was great, CJ. The newsroom is clapping.
The newsroom, everybody's clapping for you.
But here, CJ, don't forget to bring some doggy bags because everybody's hungry and they're looking at that, okay? Please and thank you.
I got you guys.
Okay, CJ, that's why you're the best. That looks really
Thanks,
good.
CJ.
Enjoy. Well, staying with the CNE, the CEO is raising concerns about the future of the event.
Okay, so Darryl Brown says that the X continues to lose space due to a number of proposed city development projects. He says the CNE is going to lose more than 33,000 square meters of space due to an expansion of Hotel X, the Canadian National Exhibition Association's lease on the food building. That's where Sija Liu just was. That's up in 3 years, while discussions are still ongoing about above-ground parking at the site of the proposed thermal spa at Ontario Place.
The space has been contracting for us year over year, decade over decade. So it limits our capacity to do some of the creative things we might have done in the past. There's a hotel phase 2 development that's slated. That's 360,000 square feet of lost programmable space to us. That will cost us about $2.6 million a year in lost revenue. There's the deal that was brokered between the province and the city to put parking here for Therme and Ontario Place. And the question is what that parking looks like.
Well, the CNE saw a record 1.6 million visitors in 2023. So Brown says that with advanced ticket sales, they are on track to basically meet or exceed that same number this year.
It's now 5:05, 27 degrees, feeling more like 30 out there. Let's get a check on the evening commute with our traffic specialist, Adjoa and CA. It's been a really busy afternoon, Adjoa.
You know what, it has. So many problems happening, and I'll start with the ones that kicked it all off that are still with us. This is on the southbound lanes of the 400 collector lanes, still closed. MTO letting me know it's still going to be the next hour or a half at least before they start reopening any lanes in the collectors. If you're in the express, just the right lane blocked, and you know it's starting to thin out because drivers are just avoiding this stretch of highway. We have problems on the 410. It was on the southbound 410 exit ramp to the eastbound 401. Crews dealing with a collision that is blocking a live lane, and then further east on the 401 into Durham, right into Ajax actually. Eastbound 401 at Salem. Crews dealing with a collision blocking the right lane and shoulder. 401 west, stalled tanker off to the side, but it's in the express lanes that's blocking Victoria Park. That right lane is out, and even more problems on the eastbound lanes of the 403, actually westbound lanes of the 403. It's the ramp that takes you to the QEW, Niagara bound. Have the left lane blocked at the collision. It is at the Oakville end. So yes, it has been quite the busy afternoon, guys. I'll send it back to you.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Next to the search for a missing Markham realtor, 56-year-old Yuk Ying Anita Moy disappeared last Friday.
CP24 Steve Ryan joins us live from the scene. This is where police have been focused. Steve, I want to start off with this. Yesterday we saw a number of officers where you are right now, but there's been only one police cruiser there right now. What's going on? Why?
Well, Bakari, we heard from police yesterday at this location on Vandorf Side Road, which is just in front of this unoccupied house, huge property, heavily wooded area as well, with a large pond south of this residence as well. Huge search yesterday, ground search, air search, divers were in the water. The PDS, the police dog services, were on scene as well. And the police said that they had reason to believe that this 56-year-old real estate agent may have been at this location. That would make sense, given the fact that she's a real estate agent. This is an unoccupied house. We heard from police that 2 nights ago, their forensics team went inside of this unoccupied house. Now, they can do that without a search warrant if they had reason to believe that she was up here. They would do that looking for her and any evidence that she was there, and then they'd have to leave. The ground search yesterday could be done out of exigent circumstances without a search warrant if they believe that she may have been up here. So they conducted that huge search yesterday, and now today, not a lot of activity here at the scene. There is a police car protecting the scene. It's been here all throughout the night. A detective was on the scene earlier this morning. He left after about 30 minutes, but the police are still here. So that tells me one of two things. They could have found evidence inside of that house, and now they are writing a search warrant, and this is why the cops are protecting this scene. Or they could have found some sort of evidence, some sort of DNA evidence, and they're waiting to get confirmation on that again. This is why the police are searching the scene. Or there could be a third reason that I just can't think of right now, but whatever that reason is, they can't release the scene until they're confident that, in fact, this 56-year-old was either not here or, in fact, she is still here, and they need to rule all of this out, and they're going to take their time by doing that, and this is why the scene is still being held by the York Regional Police.
Steve, this is a realtor who is well known in the Markham community. She's been missing since last Friday. She's still missing. Any word or indication about when police might have some answers? When do you think they'll be prepared to actually talk about what they think happened?
Well, when they have the evidence to let them know what happened, Lena, but we could get word from the police within the next day or so once they're done with this property up here. But as I was just saying to Bakari, there has to be a reason why they're still holding this place, even after conducting that extensive search yesterday. Again, if the forensic team had gone in there 2 nights ago looking for her because they believe she may have been here, once they satisfied themselves that she wasn't in that property, in the interior of the house, they'd have to leave and get a search warrant to go back in. But the search could be easily explained away without a search warrant because this is an emergency, and they wanted to make sure that she wasn't on this property somewhere alive and waiting for help.
Hey, see, let's talk about what police are going through, are dealing with. So we go back to last Friday. We have, Moy last seeing her family, saying goodbye, 9:30 in the morning. Last talking to them at 11 a.m. And then her car is found later on Friday afternoon in a different area. Talk about how these things add up with this investigation.
So the car was found south of Markham in Scarborough at Finch and Warden. That was her white Mercedes-Benz SUV. So they would put a timeline together through eyewitness accounts. We're showing you her picture right now. Eyewitness accounts, phone records, phone locations, perhaps, surveillance video. But for reasons unknown to us, of course, the police had reason to believe yesterday that she may have visited this location here on the Friday that she went missing. This is why the police conducted such an extensive search. They didn't just pull this address out of the sky. They had some evidence to suggest that she may have been here, and oftentimes credible information turns to be non-credible. You continue investigating it as it's credible until you learn that it's not. So that may have been the case up here right now, but whatever the reason, the police are still interested in this scene as they continue to hold it.
All right, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan live in Whitchurch, Stouffville tonight on the search for a missing Markham woman. Steve, thanks so much for this. Well, there has been more vandalism at a North York synagogue today. Okay, so images shared by the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal Center show Free Palestine written in red paint on signs at the Kaliat Sharei Torah Synagogue. This is near Bayview and York Mills. This is the third instance of vandalism at the synagogue since April. An investigation is underway after an anti-Semitic symbol was burned into the grass of a Whitby park. The swastika was found on the soccer field at Prince of Wales Park near Thixon and Dundas. Investigators say a blue container was also found nearby. They're hoping someone in the area saw the person responsible walking with the container last Friday night around 10 o'clock. Well, Liberal health critic Adil Shamji is calling out Premier Doug Ford for comments that he made yesterday during the opening of a new animal hospital. So here's what the Premier said.
By the looks of it, we know where we can send the overflow patients now for MRIs and CAT scans and everything else. So keep an extra room for some other patients for King. So today at Queen's Park, Shamji says making a joke suggesting the hundreds of thousands of Ontarians on waiting lists should rather sign up for animals for care is cruel.
This is a man who says he is for the people and then laughs at the people. But healthcare is no laughing matter. This was Doug Ford's let them eat cake moment. If cake could be replaced with beer and hot dogs at one of his Ford Fests. This is a man who can spend $1 billion to bring alcohol into convenience stores 1 year early. But when faced with a crisis in healthcare, can suggest only that people turn to the vet. He needs to apologize.
Shamji says the state of the province's healthcare system is a result of a failure in leadership on the part of the PC government.
We did ask Ford's office about the controversy, and while a spokesperson didn't address the Premier's comments directly, they did send a statement to us. It's a written statement highlighting the government's investment in healthcare. It reads in part, quote, "We are adding over 49 new MRI machines and 50 new CT scanners in hospitals across the province, increasing capacity to perform nearly 500,000 hours of MRI and CT scans. We recently announced an investment for 100,000 new publicly funded scans, which will continue to help Ontario achieve some of the shortest wait times for surgeries in Canada."
It's now 5:14, 27 degrees. This is Live at 5.
And coming up, Auston Matthews takes over as captain for the Maple Leafs as the team and its fans look ahead to next season. Much more in today's announcement after the break. Hey, Lena, it's official.
It's official.
Auston Matthews is the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
CP24's Andrew Brennan joins us live with more on today's passing of the torch. Hey, Andrew. Did you know that?
Is there an echo in here? I go. Auston. No, okay. Well, all right. This is the serious news. Serious news. back to the news part, guys. So Auston Matthews is now the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Okay, so let's get through how this happened today, and I think we really need to get through without laughing, guys. So Auston Matthews is now going to be the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. How did this happen? Well, Brad Treliving now he's getting into his groove as a GM for the Buds, and he is the one that pretty much made this happen. He said after the Leafs were knocked out of the first round of the playoffs in the 2024 season, he felt there was a change that was needed. He also said that based on the character that is Auston Matthews in the locker room, how he's grown as a leader, and also the fact that you have all of these players that grew up watching him as he became a superstar in the league, he has a lot of weight to throw around in the locker room. So we did hear from Auston Matthews today, one, talking about how much of an honor this is, but two, knowing that John Tavares is passing the torch and willingly doing so is not lost on him. And we heard from the former captain now himself as well.
I got chills, honestly. I'm so honored and humbled. Since being drafted here 8 years ago, you realize how special it is to play for the city of Toronto, to wear the maple leaf on your chest every single night, and it just means the world to do that, and to have the support from Johnny, my teammates, our staff, ownership, my family. It just means the world to me, and I look forward to continuing our journey to obviously get to the top of the mountain and win the Stanley Cup and bring it back to Toronto.
This decision is definitely not about whether I've succeeded or failed, whether I'm capable or that my time has passed. I feel stronger than ever in my ability to compete, play at a high level, and make significant contributions through my leadership. This decision is a recognition of the maturation of a person who has shown a skill set that is special, unique, and who has a relentless drive to win. In that, I believe Auston can become more, and that he is ready for this honor and responsibility. With me passing on the captaincy, it will allow Auston to fully embrace the leader that he is and even have an even greater impact on our team.
Well, how's Leaf Nation reacting to this? We'll find out later in the show. Hey, Lena. Hey, Bakari. Back to you guys.
All right.
Hey, Andrew. Thanks so much.
Thanks a lot.
5:18, 27 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
Okay, just ahead, breaking down the reality facing Torontonians in their 20s. We're going to take a look at a pair of new reports that outline the challenges facing young adults in this city and beyond.
Welcome back. A new report suggests Torontonians in their 20s are struggling more with their mental health and finances than those who are just a decade older.
45% of 20-somethings in the city reported having either fair or poor mental health, according to the Toronto Foundation. That's compared to 33% of those who are 30 and older. 40% say that they're concerned about paying their rent or mortgage each month, compared to 22% of the 30-plus group. 6 times more people in their 20s were using food banks last year than in 2019. That's compared to 3 times those 30 years and up.
Some of these things are quite new and recent. So certainly the concerns about being able to pay rent or needing to access food banks, that's skyrocketed. But even in rates of mental health, for example, we've seen rates of depression and anxiety are almost twice the rate of those who are 30 and above. And 40% of 20-somethings are saying that they're lonely most of the week. That's compared to only 31% of those 30 and above. So the disparities are quite stark. And when you consider the fact that 1 in 7 Torontonians fall into that age bracket, it really is a considerable number.
Well, the report's findings are based on data from the 2023 Toronto Vital Signs Report and the 2022 Toronto Social Capital Study.
Well, the pressure created by the high cost of a post-secondary education in Canada, that is being highlighted in a new survey. Another thing young people are struggling with.
Yeah, 82% of those surveyed by Embark and Leger say they find the financial realities of college or university to be overwhelming. 44% say they're spending at least 3/4 of their total income on school, and 64% say that they would not be able to afford their education without the help that they get from their parents. More than 1 in 4 report having considered dropping out of their program because of money concerns. And McMaster University student Kristen Kack talked to us about the challenges of trying to pay for school while grappling with the affordability crisis.
It has been incredibly stressful, especially when it does come to money, because there's so many different sources that you have to pull from, including OSAP, RESPs, even just your own summer income from summer jobs. And trying to stretch that throughout the school year without having to get a part-time job has definitely been incredibly stressful.
The survey also found that 49% of students polled say if they could go back in time, they would make a different decision about their education. That really says something.
Well, right now it's 5:23, 27 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, cycling for sick kids and other Canadian children facing a difficult diagnosis. We'll have more on the long-distance ride making a difference next.
Nearly 24 cyclists are making their way from Toronto to Montreal in support of a good cause.
The fundraiser for childhood cancer initiatives at Sick Kids and Montreal Children's Hospital will see 23 riders complete a 580-kilometer bike ride between the two cities. It is all in support of the pediatric oncology units at both hospitals. Here's more.
We started this in 2005, and it started with like 7 adults who didn't know each other. My son, who was 13 at the time. We got their school bus to transport everybody to the CN Tower, and since then it's been like never looked back. It's been the most amazing thing, and involving the Toronto community, it was when this thing really took off. So I'm eternally grateful. We're a mom and pop grassroots operation. We're going to surpass $3 million cumulative, so we're super proud and happy to hopefully have made a difference in the lives, children with cancer and their families.
We get to hear from some of the kids, possibly today, possibly in Montreal, but everybody in here has a story, so it's just supporting the cause.
You got to dig deep. And these kids, you see the little ones, you'll see here later on in the speeches, the inspiration they give. Little Brock from years ago, little Evie I met 9 years ago, and they're still here because of partly what we do.
It's for an amazing cause. It's a great cause. Like I said, I've been doing this for probably 6+ years. It's a great cause, and Gene, the founder of the charity ride, is a great guy, and like I say, everyone here is an avid rider, and they find this a great cause to contribute to.
It's going to take the group about 3 days to arrive in Montreal.
It is 5:28 now, 27 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And the excitement's building for the CNE, but there are also questions on what's in store for the X's future. Stay with us. More news straight ahead. All right, the CNE is showing off this year's specialties as the X prepares to open later this week, but there are growing questions about its future. That story's coming up.
We are following the latest out of York Region tonight, where search efforts are still underway for a missing realtor from Markham.
And Premier Doug Ford is facing some pushback over comments that he made at an opening of an animal hospital. We'll explain just ahead.
You're watching Live at 5. Good evening, and thanks so much for joining us. I'm Lima Ladifat.
I'm Bakari Savage. We're just days away from the start of a Toronto summer tradition.
The X opens this Friday with lots of excitement over what is in store this year, and CP24's Sija Liu joins us live with more from CNE Media Day. The last time we chatted, you were in the food building. That's my favorite building, by the way. Where are you now?
I am still in the food hall. It's hard to leave. There are so many options in here, and this is actually the food hall's 70th anniversary, which is just so exciting for the CNE going into its 145th year. But a lot of food, both inside here at the food hall and all around the park. So earlier today, it was Media Day, and we got to try all the new feature foods coming to the CNE. These are wacky, weird foods, unique foods only available here. Some of the items we got to try include butter chicken lasagna, butter chicken corn dog, deep fried pickled Oreos, supersized foods too. We had donuts bigger than the size of our heads, a foot-long samosa, just to name a few. Anything from snacks to desserts to full-out meals that you'll want to share with your whole family. Here's more from one of the food vendors on the type of mindset you should come into CNE with.
So we take an air-dried noodle, not fried. instant ramen. We toss in our special sauce. And then if you get the Superfly noodle, we find a way to suspend it in the air. So it's got a little bit of animation and drama. But then you get to choose your proteins and unlimited topping bar. I think being adventurous and trying things that you might think you don't like, but giving it a shot will really open up your palate.
So after you have all that food, you can walk around the CNE and play some of the games, enjoy some of the live performances. They have 8 stages spread out through across the grounds. There's also 800 different vendors that you can try and purchase things from, and of course the different games that come in here every single year. So it starts on Friday, goes all the way until Labor Day, and if you want to save a few bucks, you can purchase your tickets online. They're a few dollars cheaper, and Presto card members also get up to 44% off. So a lot of different options for the whole family. But come in here with an open mind, open stomach, and a lot of food and fun over the next 2 weeks. Back to you.
All right, reporting live at the food hall, the most important part. Oh, I mean, the CNE. CP24, CJ Liu, thanks a lot.
Thanks, CJ.
Well, the CEO of the CNE is raising concerns about the future of the event.
Yeah, Daryl Brown says the X continues to lose space due to a number of proposed city development projects. He says the CNE will lose more than 33,000 square meters of space due to an expansion of Hotel X, the Canadian National Exhibition Association's lease on the food building that CJ was just in. That's also up in 3 years, while discussions are ongoing about above-ground parking at the site of the proposed ThermaSpa at Ontario Place.
We've lost space continuously over 6 decades. There's decisions that are made. For example, on the Water Channel, there was a decision at City Council that prohibited more than 10 days of motorboat activity in the Water Channel. Well, we would program for 18 days in the Water Channel, and I've been doing that since the 1950s. So there's decisions that are made sometimes without thinking about what the impact is on us. It's a hotel phase 2 development. It's going to be 360,000 square feet of additional buildings on these grounds, which means that's space we lose. And now there's the deal between the province and the city for parking.
The CNE saw a record 1.6 million visitors in 2023. Brown says based on advanced ticket sales, they're expecting a similar number this year.
Right now it's 5:34, 27 degrees, feeling more like 30 outside. Let's get checking the roads with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoin Tiabois, who's wearing that purple matching my tie.
It's what we do.
We did a good job.
Hey, I didn't get the memo. What's up with that?
I don't know what happened to you, Lena. Check your emails. I sent it out yesterday.
Oh, okay. My bad.
We are dealing with a lot of problems. Hope if you're driving, you do have AC in your car, you need it. It's a hot one and a slow one on all of the major routes. So if you're on the southbound lanes of the 400, this problem's been with us since the early afternoon. Southbound 400 collector lanes blocked at Langstaff. It's been that way for the last little bit. And if you're in the express, the right lane blocked. It's because of a collision was involving a dump truck. Ended up striking the center median, damaging it. So it's the repairs that are underway. If your travels take you to the 401, busy across the top of the city, but we're getting a lull in problems. All earlier issues have cleared. And the DVP, it continues to be a slow one. If you're headed north and southbound, for that matter, between Bayview, Bloor, and the 401, outside of camera view, getting word of problems on the southbound 404 ramp to Major Mac at the top of the ramp. It's a stalled vehicle. It's in the right lane. I'll send it back to you both.
Okay, thanks, Adj.
You're welcome.
Okay, now we're going to turn to the search for a missing Markham realtor, 56-year-old Yu King, who also goes by Anita Moy. She disappeared last Friday.
CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan has been working on the story all week. He joins us live with the latest tonight. So police are still very much interested in that property in Whitchurch, Stouffville. That's where you are this hour, Steve. Tell us what's been happening there.
Yeah, that's right, Lena. So we're on Vandorf Side Road in Stouffville, and the police conducted a huge search yesterday on the ground, in the air. Divers were in the pond south of this location as well, and the police dog services are on scene as well. Police said yesterday that they believed that they had information that this 56-year-old missing real estate agent may have been at this location, and this is why they attended here, and they conducted a huge search yesterday. Now, there's not much going on here today at the scene, most likely because they're doing work behind the scenes, maybe even getting a search warrant. That could explain why the police are still holding the scene. They held it overnight. The forensics team was in the interior of that house 2 nights ago. They've left, so if they did find something in there, they would need a search warrant to continue searching in the house, but they would be able to search the entire property without a warrant because it's an emergency. if they thought this woman was possibly up here and she may have been alive up here somewhere and they were looking for her. Now, that could explain some of the actions of the police, but whatever the reasons, they're still holding this scene, and they're holding it for a reason. And we're going to show you her picture right now. This is a 56-year-old woman who went missing last Friday. She last spoke to her family at 11 a.m. Her car, a white SUV Mercedes-Benz, was located in Scarborough at Finch and Warden. Police believe that she may, have a look at her car, we're going to show you her car right now, that she may have been in this area or had a scheduled appointment in this area on Friday, and this is why they've had such great interest in this location, and they are still here holding the scene for reasons unknown to us, but I'm sure it has to do with the investigation and doing a thorough search and making sure that, in fact, she is not at this location, or she wasn't at this location on Friday.
You know, Steve, she was last seen on last Friday. That was the 9th. Today's the 14th. You've had years as a police officer, doing the type of work, even written a book. Can you maybe begin to give us a little bit of insight as to what's happening behind the scenes with officers, with detectives? The homicide unit has been called in this investigation.
Yeah, that's right. And that's because the police have found her disappearance to be suspicious. They have no evidence to suggest that there's any wrongdoing, but it's out of character for her not to have any contact with her family and just to leave her car abandoned like it was. So the police right now, Bakari, are trying to put a timeline together through witnesses, through surveillance video, perhaps through phone records, phone locations, and other information as well. But whatever the reason, they were certainly interested in this vacant property up here in Stouffville for the last 2 days. And as I was saying earlier, they continue to be interested in it because there's still a police car out here while detectives do work behind the scenes.
This woman is a realtor, Steve. You've been speaking with police, with investigators, and you asked, was she called to that location for a showing? What did they tell you?
Yeah, the officer could not tell me one way or the other whether or not she did attend this location, but what they did believe was that she may have had an appointment up here at this spot. So as I've been saying all day, the police didn't pull this address out of thin air. Right. They've got credible information to believe that she must have had an appointment up here on Friday. This is why they're so interested in this property. So credible information doesn't always turn out to be credible, but you treat it as credible until such time that there is no more room to search or evidence to look for. And I believe that's what's being done at this particular case. But for whatever reason, they're still here and they're still interested in this particular location, despite the fact that they did a huge search throughout the day yesterday.
Okay, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan with the very latest in the search for Anita Moy. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
One person's been taken to hospital after being hit by a vehicle. This is near Riverdale Park West.
It happened just after 3 p.m. at River and Oak Streets. That's just north of Dundas. Paramedics tell CP24 that a man was taken to a local hospital and is expected to be okay. According to police, the driver of the vehicle remained at the scene, and there's no word on charges at this time. All roads have reopened.
Well, police have arrested the driver of a motorcycle who drove away, left the scene after hitting a police officer. So this happened last Wednesday evening on the lakeshore near the X grounds. The motorcycle was heading eastbound when the driver disobeyed an officer who was directing traffic in the westbound lanes. He hit the officer and drove away. Well, today, 34-year-old Khalid Patrick Idris was arrested and charged with dangerous driving, causing bodily harm, and failing to stop at an accident scene. He's also facing 3 charges under the Highway Traffic Act.
Liberal health critic Adil Shamji is calling out the premier for comments he made yesterday during the opening of a new animal hospital. This is what the premier said.
By the looks of it, we know where we can send the overflow patients now for MRIs and CAT scans and everything else. So keep an extra room for some other patients for King.
All right, so again, that was yesterday. Well, today at Queen's Park, Shamji demanded an apology from the premier.
Nearly 10,000 people died while waiting for MRIs and CT scans last year alone under the watch of Doug Ford. Another 2,000 people died, Ontarians died, while waiting for surgery. So against that backdrop, you don't joke that the hundreds of thousands of people who are still on the waiting list line up like animals at a veterinary clinic. Now, jokes can be funny, but they can also be revealing. And yesterday's cruel, heartless, callous, out of touch attempt at humor on the backs of the suffering of so many Ontarians showed what Doug Ford actually cares about.
Well, Shamji also says that the state of the province's healthcare system is the result of a failure in leadership on the part of the PC government.
So we asked the Premier's office about the controversy, and while his spokesperson did not address the Premier's comments directly, they did send us a written statement highlighting the government's investment in healthcare. Part of that reads, we're adding over 49 new MRI machines and 50 new CT scanners in hospitals across the province, increasing capacity to perform nearly 500,000 hours of MRI and CT scans. We recently announced an investment for 100,000 new publicly funded scans, which will continue to help Ontario achieve some of the shortest wait times for surgeries in Canada.
Right now it's 5:42, 27 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, we have more reaction from fans as Auston Matthews takes over as captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Stay with us. Well, it is official. Auston Matthews is the new captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
CP24's Andrew Brennan joins us live with more on today's passing of the torch. And Andrew, earlier I was listening to what you said. You also brought up a good point regarding Auston Matthews' heritage.
Yeah, I wanted to get into this a little bit more earlier, but except for Max Pacioretty, there's been no other captain of an NHL team in the NHL's history that has Mexican or Latino heritage beyond Auston Matthews and, again, Max Pacioretty back when he was with the Montreal Canadiens. So that in and of itself is pretty special. And also just thinking about what this means for Canada and also Toronto, which according to the United Nations is still the most multicultural city on earth, that's pretty representative of maybe the city that we call home. Now, as for Auston Matthews himself, he really wanted to talk about how much he knew that this meant to this city, how much it means to Leafs Nation, that they have someone who can lead at the helm. He also kept talking about getting to the top of the mountain, which is something that the GM, Brad Treliving, has brought up over and over again since he took over the job as general manager. The problem right now is that the Leafs have not been getting anywhere close to the top of the mountain, getting kicked out of the playoffs in the first round last year, which is maybe why Treliving thought that this would be the right time to make such a shakeup when it comes to who's wearing the C on their sweater. We did hear from them earlier, but I did mention earlier on in the show that we wanted to know what Leafs Nation is thinking about having Auston Matthews, one of the most prolific goal scorers of his generation, if not the best goal scorer of his generation, now being our captain. Take a listen.
I'm so excited for the Matthews era. He has some big shoes to fill because JT did a great job, but I think it was time.
So excited, so ready. I've been ready for 6 years. I think I can hear it now. Auston Matthews in his first year of captaincy lifts the Stanley Cup.
Oh, I didn't want to hear that. I don't have anything I can knock on wood on. But that being said, we're going to ignore the jinxing and just talk about advice for Auston Matthews. Captain Crunch himself, Wendell Clark, who is also a prolific goal scorer, also taken #1 by the Leafs when he was drafted. He had one piece of advice for Matthews now that he's captain. Just be yourself. Back to you, Bob.
Oh, love that. Andrew, thanks so much for this. Andrew Brennan, live in studio tonight. Well, an easy opening round win for Felix Auger-Aliassime in Cincinnati.
Yeah, the 24-year-old cruised to a straight sets win over American Alexander Kovacevic. Auger-Aliassime converted 5 of 7 break points and is going to take on Casper Ruud in his next match.
Brilliant pass. Fernandez.
And things were a bit more difficult for Leila Annie Fernandez in her first match. Fernandez came from a set down to beat China's Yu Yuan 3-6, 6-4, 6-3 to advance to the second round in Cincinnati. She'll take on world number 4 Elena Rybakina tomorrow.
It's 5:48, 27 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Mpox is declared a global public health emergency by the World Health Organization today. We'll have more on the rising case counts overseas and the situation in downtown Toronto. Stay with us. Welcome back. The World Health Organization has declared Mpox a global public health emergency for the second time in 2 years as cases surge in Africa.
The WHO's move aims to accelerate research funding and international public health measures to contain the disease. It comes as Africa's top public health agency warned last week that infections were rising at an alarming rate on the continent. The Africa Centers for Disease Control says that the spread of the virus is being driven by a new, more dangerous variant. Infectious diseases specialist Dr. Dale Kalina says one of the concerns with the Mpox virus is its continued mutation.
What we're seeing right now in the Democratic Republic of the Congo is an outbreak which has been going on for about 10 years, but it's far worse than it has been in recent years. The biggest difference is that the subtype or clade of Mpox that has been circulating in the Democratic Republic of the Congo has changed a little bit, somewhat like what we had previously seen with COVID, but it's mutated in a way that's made it more virulent, and also there's been a higher fatality rate. And what that's led to is a spread to neighboring countries to the east of it.
The declaration comes a day after Toronto Public Health urged eligible residents to get vaccinated against Mpox. TPH says that cases in the city have surpassed last year's total for this time. 93 infections were confirmed as of July 31st, as compared to only 21 during the same period in 2023. The majority of cases are concentrated in the downtown core.
Well, Jasper residents are officially being allowed to return to the fire-ravaged town on Friday. Parks Canada says the town will remain off-limits to the public. Some 5,000 people have been out of their homes for 3 weeks now, prior to a wildfire moving into the town and scorching a third of its buildings. Residents were previously allowed to see their homes on bus tours, but were not allowed to get out and look. Jasper's council says early figures show $283 million worth of property was destroyed. Those losses include 800 housing units and 358 structures overall. And officials in British Columbia say the wildfire situation there is showing some signs of improvement. Milder temperatures are making it easier for crews to respond to the fires, but there's still concern about more blazes igniting from daily lightning strikes. The BC Wildfire Service says fighting the fires has cost $387 million thus far this year.
1,800 people from a Saskatchewan First Nation are under an evacuation order due to a fast approaching wildfire. The 130 square kilometer fire, it's now within 20 kilometers of the community. The chief has been critical of the province's response, alleging the public safety agency is not deploying First Nations firefighters.
Canada now has a new political party.
Yeah, the Canadian Future Party. It was officially launched today in Ottawa and is billing itself as a centrist option for voters. Interim leader Dominic Carty says that the party will be fiscally responsible and socially liberal, offering a new option for voters who are fed up with extremism on both the right and left. The Canadian Future Party says it'll run candidates in the upcoming by-elections in Winnipeg and Montreal scheduled for next month.
For too long, Canadians have been asked to play a political shell game. Under the shell, on the left, the social programs you need. But along with it, too often, you have to buy bloated government, ever-increasing spending, divorced from delivering results. Under the shell on the right, we're supposed to find fiscal discipline. But along with it, too often, there's a mean-spirited approach that blames the most vulnerable for their plight, selfishness masquerading as liberty that happily misdirects government resources to the wealthy and polices our bodies and our bedrooms.
Elections Canada recognized the Canadian Future Party as an eligible political party on June 22nd, and it was officially registered earlier this month on August 8th.
Right now it's 5:55, 27 degrees. This is Live 5.
Coming up, we meet a couple of high achievers who wrapped up the last school year with almost perfect grades. We're going to have their marks after the break.
Well, the TDSB has announced its top scholars of the 2023-24 school year.
The two of the highest overall averages, and this could hurt you, were, if you think back to when you were in school, were Alina Tabrizi, who graduated with 99.8%. That's almost perfect. And Arisha Mahe, who graduated with 99.6%. CP24 caught up with the two this morning who said extracurriculars are what kept them motivated.
The times that I study and I'm most productive is late at night and really early in the morning, like at 5 a.m.-ish. So that really left me with a lot of time throughout the day to socialize with friends, screen time, extracurriculars, all that stuff. And that really worked for me. It might be different for other people, but yeah, that allowed me to have time for a bunch of other things.
Yeah, these are going to be your future bosses. A total of 3 students earned the highest overall average of all grade 12 students in the TDSB. The third student had an average of 99.7%.
I didn't even know that was possible. 99.7%.
Yeah, because that's the boss, the future boss.
Yeah, beyond impressive. 5:59, 27 degrees. You're watching Toronto's breaking news, CP24.
Thanks for watching. CTV News at 6 is next.